Welcome back to the Air Crown Crypto channel, where we are praying in the background as we get our daily dose, or our few times of a daily dose, of the culture here in Dubai. With that said, I want to be wishing you the best and the happiest, because we got a few things to be talking about today. I only have a few chances in my life to do this. But seeing as we are in Dubai, we will do as the Dubai boys do. Critical warning to all of the Bitcoin boolahs in the next 24 hours. Click video. Emergency. Sorry, man. Just having a little bit of fun. But, hey, stop laughing. This is not funny. But there are a few things that I want to get into or announce here and follow up on yesterday before we get into the content of today's video that have to do with the application, as we've been getting a lot of comments and requests about this. And to let you know, the premium features, the premium functionality of the application has now been made live. So that means that we do have hourly data feeds. We do have the customization on our main page right here. So that does mean that if you do move around these little panes, they will actually stay there. And if you do even want to add your own little panes as well and delete the ones that are currently on the main dashboard, you can do that as well throughout this tab. On top of that, there are a few other things that I should let you know that do come along with premium. That is going to be the Jewel Light, of course, and the Crown Crypto newsletter, which I do not shill enough, because my man Roger, who actually writes this, he's just amazing. He's really great, and a lot of the information that he's put in there is something that is, or most of it is just stuff that I do not cover at all, but he is just so damn on point. And I've actually been reading it, which I know a lot of people have, myself included. Well, it's been keeping you in the loop about a lot of things that are a little bit tangential to the things that we speak about here. Anyways, with that in mind, oh, and then we also got the old portfolio as well for the premium people. It is going to be unlimited for the non-premium people. It's going to be a maximum of 5 assets and 25 transactions on the top 100 coins, as a reference my notes over here. We do have to have limitations, obviously, because we do pay for all of this data, and we'll be adding a lot more things in the coming weeks and months as well. Okay, cool. That's enough shilling for right now. We have a lot of things to get into right now, because Bitcoin has hit our $45,000 target in the early morning hours. I was enjoying my own little breakfast here. And what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean for the next, 24 to 48 hours after hitting a major target like that? Well, we're going to come back into the data on the Crown trading application soon enough. What I want to do now is I want to go directly into the price action charts. And so what chart we were working off of the other day, we were working off of this chart right here. And what do you know? We are right within the midst of that nice blue box territory, which is also, if I do pull it out, hey, stop. Hold on, let me just get rid of this for a second, which is also the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement here as well. So with that in mind, I am looking for a pullback, as you can see. Now, the LARP lines doesn't need to be exactly like this, so please do not look at this as like Bitcoin must do this, but something like this is kind of what I'm looking towards, and very likely a pullback from this region. Many reasons for that. First and foremost, or I wouldn't say it's foremost, but a very big portion of this, which is going to round out this analysis, is the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement on the macro range, that is. So when I'm talking about the macro range, I'm talking about the $29,000 base to the downside versus about the $69,000 ceiling to the upside. And the 0.5 just going to be a nice profit-taking region for a lot of people who did long around the $35,000 region. And with that in mind, probably going to be looking at a pullback over the next few days. Now, there is an invalidation for this, as always, as there always needs to be, but it's going to be on a higher term time frame in this case. I would actually be using nothing less than a 12-hour, and I need to see a 12-hour closure above the wick high of this current I won't say the D word right now. We are in Dubai after all. But the by the way, buying lubrication here, very interesting interaction. I will let you know that. Anyways, I'd want to see a closure above the top side of this candlestick in order to invalidate this and initiate moves much higher, somewhere around about 47,000 to maybe even as much as 48,000 would be the next sort of target region I'd be looking for if that condition were met. Until then, I do think that this is a very nice area for a generalized pullback. So why am I saying this essentially? Well, we do have an ever so slight drive of bearish divergence here on the 4-hour time frame. I'm actually curious how high of a time frame this goes up towards. Yeah, 6-hour has it as well. Does the 12-hour probably have it? No, it does not. But the 12 hours, getting pretty far away from that moving average on it. So typically speaking, we do see a bit of a mean reversion there. On top of that, we do see the 4-hour Jewel Light is actually getting a downside signal here. Now, this is not the downside signal that I'm like, super, that I would look at as like a full-on signal. I look at this as a corrective signal, that is, because we do see that it's very likely going to come with declining volatility right here. But ultimately, I do look for a correction after basically a, pretty much an unabated, more than $10,000 move to the upside. So with that in mind, very, very likely to pull back, maybe even spike our current highs at 45 a few more times. That's completely fine. But again, assuming no closures above that wick high that we saw from this morning, I am looking for this one to trade a little bit sideways and down over the next few days. And yes, long term, I am actually still looking for this, or at least I'd be biased towards this, giving at least one more try to the upside, perhaps a little bit later in February. But for right now, after a nice move like this, probably going to go through a little bit of a short-term correction. Obviously, the hourly is going to have many drives of bearish divergence coming off the highs here as well. We have 1, 2, 3, yep, and probably does trade a little bit sideways and down from here, which is all well and good. Again, corrections are expected after very nice moves to the upside that we've been looking for. So we've hit our first and second targets. Now, our first target was about 41,000. Our second target was about 45,000. Now coming down after that, very likely to play sideways and down. Also on the daily, I believe that we did hit officially on CME. Yeah, we did hit the 55 exponential average. Again, just a common area to pull back around. There is one slight concerning thing here. Now, this is not going to be in any way, shape, or form concerning like this exact moment, but we do technically have hidden bearish divergence setting up between this high and this high, that 27th of December high, obviously being in the upper 40s, low 50s, versus this high going on right here. And of course, it's even, it's also even higher than especially our $45,000 high right here as well. So, Bitcoin very likely does pull back, play a bit of sideways action. And then the very specific thing here is that whilst I am looking for a pullback, and we'll talk about targets on that in a second, or potential targets on that for a second, there needs to be an invalidation for the long-term bullish bias, at least for myself, in looking for price action to essentially trade sideways and up after this short-term correction. And in this case, the next target region would be to the upside is actually somewhere between about about $48,500 to $50,000, actually in line with the 618 Fibonacci retracement. If we look at it right here, following the old LARP lines, again, I'm not necessarily saying that has to be exactly like that, but the invalidation for that is very clearly below $40,000 on a daily closing basis, nothing less. If you want to be super conservative, I guess it would be appropriate for some people. 39,300 would be that number. I do think that would be relevant for perhaps a shorter term time frame, like a 4 hour. But if I'm using a daily, I'm looking around $40,000 or so in order to invalidate this rally, and once again get quite bearish for moves back down towards 35,000. And probably even lower than that over time, to be fair. Realistically, I'd probably be looking for a full-on move down to the macro base of this asset, which is between about 29 and 31,000, but there will be bounces along the way, of course, as well. Anyways, going into our mommy oscillators over here, getting our chicken tendy fingers all tendied up with I don't know, barbecue sauce. Do you like barbecue sauce? I don't like barbecue sauce, actually, because it really messes with my stomach. Anyways, we do see 4 hour stochastic momentum now coming down, and it will be heading down as long as Bitcoin is below 45,250. 3 hour stochastic momentum is doing what? Is loading. Mr. KVD actually did show me how to make this load faster, but I do like all of the bells and whistles on this for myself, so I won't be taking it off anytime soon, at least. 45,400 is magical number on the 3 hour. The buy hourly is showing what is also going to be loading for a quick minute here as well. There we go, 44,900 or so, and hourly is also pointed down below 45,100. So now we see all lower term timeframes on the same side. This is a bit different than what we saw yesterday. Damn it! Stupid. Turn that off. Oh, damn, I actually can't get rid of that right now because I'm downloading something. Well, whatever. We can deal with the Discord sounds in the background. Apologies on that, but all lower term timeframes now on the same side, which is kind of what I'm looking for on a correction, alongside extremes on lower term timeframe BBWP, alongside bearish divergence all the way up to a 6 hour timeframe. This is a likely pullback region. Again, there's as always going to be invalidations on this, and that is going to be with a closure above the wick high of our current morning high right here, with targets a few $1,000s higher after that, I suppose. But I do think that Bitcoin is more likely to correct within this region. I want to make sure that I'm not taking too much time on this particular video, so let me just pull up how much Okay, we're about 10 minutes in, so that is good. So there is also very likely to be bounces along the way. So where would those bounces likely come in around? Well, this blue box that Bitcoin spent a little bit of time consolidating around on the way up from the 5th and 6th of February right here over the weekend at about 41,000 would be a very obvious area of interest, but that is, quite far down from where Bitcoin currently is right now. So would there be likely a shorter term time frame bounce along the way? Yes, indeed, very likely somewhere around $43,000 or so. So with that in mind, probably gonna be a bit of a grind, but ultimately, as long as Bitcoin is above $40,000 on a daily closing basis, I am, still looking at this as likely to set in a higher low and likely to get one more try at least to the upside, perhaps all the way up to $48,500 to $50,000. That's at the point where I do express a bit of concern, because if we do start to see weakness within that region alongside, where is it over here? Alongside an extreme read on the global open interest, which is not extreme right now, by the way, which is not extreme at all, in fact. It's about just over 12 billion, that is. So realistically, I want to see it get over about 14 billion or so. Then I'd be a bit more concerned that this is a bit of a bull trap rally. Again, probably not happening anytime soon, but maybe later this month or in March, something like that. Until then, I do still look at this as likely to trudge upwards and onwards. But to quickly and briefly explain this, the global open interest getting above that critical number, about anywhere around 14 billion, especially higher, we have seen 20% corrections at minimum, and at maximum way more than that as well. Other than that, we do see, we actually see negative funding rates again on our hourly data feed, also negative here. So consistently negative for going on 3 weeks now. So again, while I do think that things pull back from here, I'm not too concerned about the long term. And I think that's really all that to say about that. And fear and greed index is also getting out of the fearful zone for the first time in a couple months here, really, realistically. So very similar behavior towards what we saw over the summer lows. If you actually want to see in a bigger pain over here, we can definitely do that. Hey, show it to me. There we go. You can see right here, very, very similar to what we saw over the summer, in fact. Also, the NUPL right here as well, I thought was rather interesting. If we can blow this one up, we actually made lower lows in comparison to the summer lows. So we do see a bit of a divergence in this case, with price action making higher lows, ever so slightly higher lows, but higher lows nonetheless, with NUPL making lower lows. So that would be a bit of a bullish divergence right there. Speaking of bullish divergences, we did have that on, I believe it was the 5-day CME. Yeah, hidden bullish divergence right here on 5-day CME and weekly as well. It's a bit of a phantom drive right there, but that is okay. And I think we saw a 5-day Joule signal start to get going here as well. Again, I do look at this one as more corrective within the context of declining volatility, so I don't think that this is like a major signal just yet. But what is more interesting to myself, and what I'll leave on, is the ultimate hopium here, which is the 5-day stochastic momentum, which again, we've been following up on this one a million damn times. Apologies about this being boring, but it is, this is real analysis and this is real trading here. These things do take some time to populate, being that is a 5-day time frame. But in this case, we do see it come down to this horizontal green line at about 8.5. It's only happened four other times in Bitcoin's history. 3 of those 4 times have been macro cycle lows. Namely over here in October 2011, again, took months for it to get going, even retested around the lows about a month later, but ultimately that was the low. The next macro cycle low coming in January 2015, again, took like 8 months, and it literally retested the lows pretty much to the T, but ultimately did lift upwards and onwards in the next year. And then December 2018 macro cycle lows at 3100 before again taking about 3 months and then getting going, and then even retesting about a year and a half later in March 2020, or actually like 2 years later, March 2020. And the one signature where this did not work out was, of course, October 2014, a nice bull trap. However, still with a 70% move on a wick basis, on a closing basis, about a 20% move or so. So currently speaking, from wick to wick, we do have about a 38% move, which is definitely decent. 70% move would put us somewhere, or Bitcoin somewhere in the mid 50s. A 20% closing basis move would put Bitcoin basically right around here at about about $44,000 to $45,000. So if you are looking for a long-term bull trap, you probably are looking at this as the area actually. And Bitcoin, coming back down. So the way that I get very bearish off of that would be, again, a daily closure below about $40,000 specifically. And then, I'd be looking for, I suppose, another retest of the lows. Until then, I do look for a bit of a short-term pullback, but ultimately I am biased towards that one getting at least one more try to the upside. with again with areas of interest somewhere around about 42.5 to 43 for a little bit of a bouncy bounce, and then perhaps its low down is about $41,000. Is kind of where I'm looking at perhaps over the next couple days here. So with that in mind, I'm going to be signing off now. A nice short and sweet video. Hope this one serves you well. We'll still be in Dubai for another another like 10 days or sorry 9 days or so. So hopefully this was in some way helpful or valuable to your life. If you find it valuable, if you are compelled to, maybe consider hitting the like button. And with that said, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.